Hi everyone. I want to take a little time this morning to just share with you kind of the what, why, and how church at home. Why are we doing it? What is it? How are we going to do it? We just want to make sure everybody understands, one, it's biblical, two, it's what we're called to when we started City of Joy, and we're going to explain all that. So I just want to take a little time and walk through that this morning. Before I tell you what it is, I just want to share with you one thing about what it's not. So church at home is not that each person sits at home, tunes into Facebook, and watches church by themselves, and then they're done. And they pause and they take a break and they get a snack. Church at home is not that. So we know what church at home isn't. So what is it? 3 years ago, when we were called to City of Joy, it was about connecting ordinary people to the extraordinary grace of Jesus. And at City of Joy, we had small groups of people that got together, and we called them city groups. If you were part of another church, you might have called it small group. You might have called it Bible study. You might have just called it fellowship time. So then on Sundays or Saturday evenings, wherever you were part of a church, or if you weren't part of a church, you heard people say, I'm going to church. Or you said, we're going to a worship service. Or we called it the gathering. Whatever you called it. What church at home is we're taking those small gatherings and that big group gathering, and we're putting them together. We're putting them together so that in your community, side by side with your friends and your neighbors and people who know the Lord and people who don't know the Lord yet, the gospel can come alive. And so you are part of God's plan to meet the needs in your community, the tangible needs of your neighbors and your friends and the people who know the Lord and the people who don't know the Lord. Who knows them better than you who live with them and work with them? That's what church at home is. The opportunity to bring that all together. And then there will be teaching and preaching from the teaching team and the elders at City of Joy. And there will be worship, and there will be communion facilitation. And the guys are going to explain that. But all of that will be part of church at home. Everybody here is part of God's plan, that the gospel would spread and much would be made of Jesus Christ. And we're going to do that in small, intimate gatherings so that the tangible needs are met right in your neighborhood, right in our community, and that we can do it together and we can all connect to Jesus together.
Why church at home? When God called us to plant City of Joy, He said, go make disciples of all nations. But not like, one place with a whole bunch of people there. He said, how about smaller, intimate gatherings in many locations? So that those locations are filled with joy and those people come alive with purpose. That is the heart of Jesus, right? And so here we are. That's what Church at Home is all about. We're about having people gather in these smaller, intimate settings so that people can minister to each other, so that people's giftings can strengthen and grow one another and their communities become transformed. That is the heart of God. And that's what we saw in Acts 8, right? And so that's what we want to see in every church at home at City of Joy. And the bottom line is, why church at home? Well, because the church is essential. Right? Nobody could say, your church is closed, because the church isn't a building that's open or closed. The church is the body, it's the people. And it's all about the people connecting to Jesus together on Jesus's mission right in their communities. A couple of the things I'm thinking about, why church at home, I think about strategery, I think about strategic locations. I think it's these micro locations of the macro church in all these neighborhoods all over the Chicagoland area. I think it's just strategic. 50 years ago, people had to meet in one location, right? But now we get to meet in multiple locations, which actually leads me to the other part of strategery I'm thinking about, which is technology. Don't you love technology? We went from tablets of stone to, I'm holding a tablet in my hand right now. It's crazy, and it's not of stone, it's computer technology, and it's just one of those things, and we live in 2020, y'all, and we get to use technology so that we can ensure sound doctrine is brought, so that we can ensure the church is nourished and cared for and fed with good news and the gospel that transforms and that brings people to life and joy. And then I think of another thing. I think of strategic resources. Strategic resources is about ensuring we are freed up to meet the needs of the least of these within our body and within every neighborhood that there's a church at home.
How does Church at Home work? What's the leadership structure of Church at Home? Well, just like the church around the world, Jesus is the head of his church, and that doesn't change for Church at Home. At City of Joy, the elders eld. That's what they got to do. That's what they've been told to do, and that's what we're going to do. What does that mean? Well, we oversee the doctrine. We make sure that it's on point, biblical, all the time, every time. And we make sure that the gospel is going forth with purity and that the people are being cared for and loved and prayed over, and that there's a healthy body of believers at City of Joy. That's what the elders are overseeing and that they're concerned with. The deacons come along the elders and alongside specifically the Church at Home hosts. And what they do for the Church at Home hosts is see that their needs are being met. Physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, we want to be sure that no Church at Home hosts are going without. And that goes for anyone who comes to a Church at Home gathering. We want to be sure that they're prayed for, that they're loved, that they know that they're wanted, accepted, and welcomed, and that any needs they have are being met so that no one in our church would go without. What do I do when I get there? Come on in. We're family. We're going to spend the time together worshiping Jesus, singing songs to him, singing his praise. We're going to pray together for one another. We'll remember Jesus through communion, and then there'll be preaching. Not preaching like you're probably used to, where it's the lecture form, where it's just given to you and you head home, but dialogical preaching, whereby the word is preached and we engage with it and we answer questions and talk to one another about what Jesus is teaching us through his word. How do I find a church at home? Go to cityofjoy.church, click on Church at Home, pick one near you, and connect to Jesus together.